Sam!
Michael!
It's our first ever video.
This is the
together.
first ever one. I'm so excited.
What is up, Watch fam? My name is Michael. This video is sponsored by Ada Health. Today we are talking about 7 watches close to under 1,000, except we are talking about a Royal Oak briefly.
Correct.
Because we want to talk about that, the design in general. But, hey everyone, Michael. I'd just like to specifically call out the fact that Sam's chair is higher than mine. He's not that much taller than me, but he is taller than me. I just look very small in this video, and I felt like you should know why. Before we even get to any of that, one of the watch brands we're talking about today is called Evora.
Okay.
I saw it on Instagram. This girl that I'm friends with said, I want a watch that looks like an old video game. And I was like, oh, this matches up perfectly. So she bought the watch. She really likes it. It's a $40 watch. I really don't know too much about the brand. It's a module watch, like a digital watch. But yesterday, she's a bartender, and this guy came up to her, and I have a second story for this too, but this guy came up to her and was like, wow, that's a really interesting watch you have on there. And she was like, oh, thank you. Like, this guy, Michael, he suggested to me, he actually makes YouTube videos about watches. And the question that I would ask someone is, oh, what channel? Tell me more about them. He responds, well, I'm also a very big deal in the watch world.
Interesting.
And I was like, what is his name? And she forgot to ask. But I was like, wow, that's an amazing thing to say to someone.
I thought you were going to say that they recognized you. I thought I was going to call you a celebrity for a second.
The second part of that story is a different time. My girlfriend Taylor lived in Copenhagen for 2 years. She was talking to this guy at a party, friendly. He is speaking with the intention of flirting. Who knows what his end goal is. Okay. And he's like, yeah, I'm like pretty into watches. And Taylor's like, oh, my boyfriend's really into watches. He has a YouTube channel. He talks about watches. And he says, I don't like YouTubers that talk about watches. I just can't find the respect for them. This is what he's saying to her. And then he's like talking about his watch collection. And he's like, and of course, like one of the most prized and rarest watches and the hardest watch really to find, to source, is this watch. And he pulls up his sleeve and he's wearing a JLC Reverso. And Taylor's like, my boyfriend has one of those.
Good for
and
Taylor.
He's like, what? He's like, what do you? He's like kind of bewildered. And she goes, yeah, he sold it though. He didn't like it. I was like, wow.
So you're 0 for 2.
What?
You're 0 for 2.
I would consider, yeah, I guess the one with the bartender, I would consider that a loss. But the second one, I won. Girl moved into my apartment. And
well, no, you won, but he just didn't recognize. He didn't know who you were. Nor did he care.
The secret to doing YouTube content is you never win. By doing YouTube content, you in fact have lost from the very start.
You're 100% right. I was just gonna say the amount of times that I've been in internationally with Christian, out in town with Christian, people are like, oh, like Theo and Harris, like the watch shop, and I'm just like we're in Rome right now.
Still
like,
a loss though. Like, oh no.
I don't know. Everyone's been very nice that I've ever met.
No, everyone's incredibly nice. But
anyways,
today we are talking about cheaper watches. We both have a love for cheaper watches.
Agreed.
I love G-Shock more than anything. I wore my Zenith Revival Shadow today, which is not a cheap watch, but I missed the timer function on the G-Shock already because while this is a chronograph, whenever I use something like the chronograph, I forget to check it. I need something to beep. Like if I'm making food and I think like, oh, 5 minutes, I start my chronograph and I'm like, okay, in 5 minutes I'll check. And then I'm watching TV and the fire alarm goes off and I'm like, oh.
I need it to beep.
It's been over 5 minutes. So I actually really have a tough time wearing anything but the G-Shock because of the practicality of it.
I get it.
But you're not a G-Shock guy.
I'm not. I mean, not that I'm not a G-Shock guy. I don't own one. I have a love for Timex and Swatch.
Yeah.
I've been wearing Timex since college. It's like the first watch that I went out and purchased.
Yeah.
I just love the brand. I love the colors. I love switching it up with different, NATO straps. And I get more compliments on my Timex than I do my Rolex or my Baltic.
Well, you have your Timex has a orange crystal?
It has an orange crystal, and then I put it on like a purple strap. But I'll change that out. But again, like I get more compliments with my cheaper watches than I do my more expensive ones. And it cracks me up.
No one ever notices the watch. What I was saying to Christian on the video not too long ago was that I said to Taylor, like, wow, I'm considering selling my watches. Like I might get one cool watch, like condense all of the money into one watch. And she said, I thought you sold them already. And I was like, I'm wearing one right now. I didn't even notice. But I also love Timex. Indiglow I thought was super cool. Still is super cool. I think it's the electricity when you push the crown.
I love that.
Lights up a paper. And when the electricity hits the paper, that's why it like lights up.
Gotcha.
But my fun fact with Timex is that I almost drowned wearing a Timex.
Where were you?
I was at camp in Massachusetts on Cape Cod.
How old are you?
At a YMCA camp. I was too old. I was probably like...
You're like, it was last year.
I was not in good shape at all. So I didn't want to take off my jeans or my shirt when we went swimming. So we went swimming. It was the weight of the clothes.
Of course.
We had to swim out to the dock, which was like pretty far.
Yeah.
And like halfway through, I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't think I can make it. But I was like still trying to press through. And then it actually became, in my head at the time, an emergency. So I was like, turned to my camp counselor. I was like, I have to go to shore. And she was like, we're almost there. I was like, I have, and I'm like trying to like push past her. And she's like, just swim to the dock. It's closer. I was like, I can't. And I remember just thinking like, there's like fire alarms going off in my head and feeling my shirt drag behind me like for what felt like yards. I felt like the shirt never ended because it stretched out in the water.
And you were raw denim too, so it's not
no,
easy
I was a kid. I didn't have
you never raw denim then?
No. I was like Levi's or something.
You had swimming denim.
Yeah, I had my swim denim on. Yeah. And then we want to hear one last story about me almost drowning.
Let me hear it. What
First
watch were you
ever.
wearing?
A fake Rolex.
Okay.
And I was wearing a fake Rolex. It was for a movie. It wasn't a fake. I guess it was a prop.
Okay.
But when I went to go get my whatever card you need so you don't have to go through the long line when you're coming back.
Fast Pass?
No, in the country.
Oh, global entry.
Fast Pass, yeah. They talked to me about that. They're like, you were importing fraudulent merchandise.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, what? I didn't know that happened. So it was rough. But I bought a fake Rolex for a movie.
Okay.
And maybe it wasn't that. I don't know, because I still got the Fast Pass, so I still can enter any. Like,
The Fast Pass.
But I was wearing a fake Submariner for the shot.
Okay.
And I had a waffle knit shirt on.
Mm-hmm.
And the scene was, we had lights going into a pool. I was swimming down to the bottom, and then I was supposed to, like, float back up. But I can't hold my breath for that long, because when I go underwater, I get incredibly nervous.
Of course.
Of course. So I go down, and immediately the shirt, since it's a waffle knit, gets like 5 or 6 times its size.
Oh, my God.
So I go down, and then I run out of air. So I start to swim up, and the shirt wraps around my head. Like the entire
So now you're
shirt
waterboarding yourself,
goes
basically.
I'm underwater. I can't breathe. I can't see. So I also can't figure out where the surface is.
Okay.
Because the shirt is all over, like literally wrapped up. And I had a lifeguard there who was my friend, who was also in the movie. And they said they were all like laughing and watching me, like, do it. And then all of a sudden it just went silent.
Jeez.
Like as I clearly couldn't find the top. And she was sitting there like, I can't believe I'm going to have to save this guy's life. And then I found the surface, but it was still like, I had like 10 yards of shirt to get off of my face. And I was like, and almost died.
For a kid who grew up on boats, I think you should stay away from water.
This video is sponsored by Ada Health. Welcome back, my man.
Thank you, my friend. As we get into the colder months, we need to kind of be on the lookout for some kind of predictable ailments, right?
Yeah.
Flu, RSV, allergies, and of course, COVID-19.
Yes, sir. The good news is, though, that Ada Health has a free questionnaire that you can take and figure out if you are at risk of getting seriously sick from COVID-19 this season. And you can also find out if you're eligible for treatment. And the questionnaire is super easy and it's completely free. And it can connect you with a clinician via telehealth within 2 hours, any day of the week, even on Sundays.
And it's all online, which means if you're eligible, you can be prescribed treatment online without leaving your house and dealing with any sort of lines or people.
And if you don't have insurance, not a big deal. It's only $18 for a phone consultation or $37 for a video chat.
So while you're enjoying this beautiful holiday season and drinking hot chocolate and watching great movies, you also ought to have a look at your health, right? Keep yourself safe.
Yeah, so check out the questionnaire at the link below, fill it out, and check your health out.
That's it. Thank you to Ada Health. Everyone go on and take a look.
You're also wearing a Baltic today.
I am wearing a Baltic, yeah.
Not a cheap watch, but
No.
a cheaper watch.
I
compared
love
to-
this. I love this watch.
Baltic is a fantastic brand.
Fantastic company. The bracelet, everything about this watch feels great. The colors on the bezel are amazing. I wear this watch everywhere. Every time I've gone internationally or I travel, this is my travel
Really?
watch.
Really?
So I've worn this all over the world.
Wow.
Yep.
Do you, which I said on this channel before, I shower with my watches and everything.
Actually, it's funny you say that. I just showered with this watch in Tampa this weekend because I was thinking of you. But
People
I make
say it's not good for the seals, so be careful.
Okay.
I believe people, but I also take the risk.
I'll take the risk.
Yeah.
No, but I like to swim with this watch on.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. That's a cool feeling.
Yep.
Okay, anyways, let's talk about these watches. Before we get into the cheap watch, the Royal Oak, I'm sorry, I forget the name of it. Alex Studio? What do you think of this? I just read some comments on Reddit that are very negative about this watch. We'll get into what I think in a second. I want to hear what you think.
So I actually enjoy like this watch. It looks futuristic, like kind of almost reminds me of like something you would see in like Men in Black or like like Blade Runner almost. It's very bare bones. What do they have, a gold and a silver or a white gold? Is that?
Yeah, I think it's white gold, silver, but it's really just they stripped everything
off except the chrono and just the hands, right?
Yeah, the watch. Basically they just took the dial off. And the one thing I will say is the clasp I think is incredibly cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I would probably get it just for the clasp, but if I'm spending that much money on an AP, I'm not going this route.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy it.
There's a group of people that I think would be delighted to get this watch. Here's a picture of Drake wearing it. He falls into that group of people. I think would be delighted to get this watch because it's different, it's weird, it's kind of a waste of money from a watch perspective.
100%.
Just because you can't tell the time really that well. But I do think when all the chronograph registers are pointing straight up, that looks kind of
cool. Looks cool. Yeah.
But with that being said, it is trashed, of course. It's not a watch lover's watch. I guess technically it could be, but people have been saying it looks like a MVMT, like a movement watch.
It does actually. Now that you say that, ooh.
It's weird when you strip the dial off of a Royal Oak. It looks like a movement watch,
which is wild.
Yeah, it's like wow, you're 1 degree separated from like $100 watch in a while.
But what's that? 40? No, probably more.
This is like $1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
I didn't even. Christian knows all the prices of the watches because he's thinking about buying them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, I don't know.
He would not buy that watch.
No,
I'll tell you right now.
Now we'll actually talk about some cheap watches. So
okay.
I want you to talk on this one because I actually just learned about it.
So I just learned about this. I just saw on Instagram, Timex posted that they did a collaboration with Keith Haring. For those who don't know, Keith Haring was an artist, I believe, in the 80s that was a street artist that would just make, I don't know how to describe his art other than just kind of those wacky stick figures almost. And I've just been a big fan of him as an artist for a long time. And he also used to own a lot of Swatches. Oh. So like I've seen those go for auction. There's like
there's a Keith Haring Swatch. I know that.
There is that, and then he used to own them as well. And I just always loved those watches. So when I saw the Timex collaboration, I was like, what is this? One of them looks more like a Casio, digital Casio. The other one, I just love that the hands of the watch and the numbers are very much inspired by his art.
The Timex Easy Reader?
The Easy Reader.
Yeah.
I would buy that watch.
That's
I'll probably
incredible.
buy that today.
Yeah. You should.
I just love the way the hands look. It's like, it's almost like it's cut from construction paper, if that makes sense.
No, that's why I like it too.
And that's why I like it. It's not perfect.
Yeah. That's what makes it so fun. To me, it looks like also the way Timex is written, of course. Keith Haring being one of the most famous artists of all time with Basquiat and everything in this era is incredible. And I like that this doesn't look like it held back because...
Exactly.
No, I shouldn't even say held back. It looks like the Swatch collaborations are really on the nose.
Yes.
Not that these aren't. It's still featuring his art. But this looks like they went a little further and were like, okay, if he was going to draw a watch, it would look like this.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I like that they're all basically like, just black and white.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Swatch ones, they're wild colors. They're beautiful. They actually have his art on the watches.
Yep.
But this is almost like, it looks like that it's inspired by his art, which is what I enjoy about it.
What do you think of Timex versus Casio versus Swatch? Because Timex, I feel like, tries to do everything, but what's interesting is like when I look at this Timex T80, the Keith Haring version.
Yep.
I'm like that's a not Casio. I think that's even what you said. You're like a Casio looking watch, which is interesting because Timex also they don't really go the Swatch route as much, but to me I'm like in a weird way that should be a Casio. That shouldn't be a Timex.
I think that's why I don't want to buy it. Or that's why I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just feel like it just looks exactly like a Casio. It's what Casio is known for, their digital watches. So when I see Timex kind of doing it, it's like, all right, they did it. I know like Timex also has other watches that are, divers and everything else. Like they kind of cover everything. I stick to more the Indiglos or the Weekenders. But for me, the Casio or the one that looks like a Casio.
Yeah, exactly.
Not for me because it looks just like a Casio.
Yeah, I find that really weird.
So that's my issue with Timex. I think Swatch and Casio are also very unique in the sense that Swatch is in a league of its own, just how they're creating their watches, the color schemes that they're using. I think Casio too for the digital watches that they're making, and some of their other watches. Like I think it's a Casio. They're not trying to pretend to be something else.
Yes, that's what I feel with Timex in a weird way because like this did the Timex the Q Timex. Do you like this watch?
It just looks like it should be a Pepsi.
Yes.
Like it just I
like this watch a lot. I think it's very cool.
I think it looks just like my Baltic.
It does look just like your Baltic. This, I feel like, though, is closer to what I see as Timex, where I'm like, okay, well, that looks like a more mechanical watch.
Yes.
Like you had the Weekender, I had the Expedition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's Timex's bread and butter. Swatches is like a very flimsy, plasticky watch that ticks incredibly loud.
Yes.
Casio is digital face.
Yes.
Those, I think, are the defining things. So Timex, I feel like, is the one that really like leaks into all the others because
100%.
they can grab market share with that.
Agreed.
But either way, I think the Q is cool. I don't have one, but sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I want that watch.
Yep.
If you love watches like I do, if you think that they mean something more than the time, then head on over to theoandharris.com and shop our selection of vintage watches and handmade straps. They're unique and they're special, and once they're gone for good.
This one I actually wanted to tell you about. I don't think you've seen mine. This is a solid state watch from CW&T, Charlie
Okay.
Whiskey and Tango. Charlie Whiskey and Tango. It's
Okay.
not Wisco, is it? I don't drink.
What? Whiskey? You're having a hard day with words today.
I know. Okay, so well, the secret is I have a hard time with words every day, but we usually just edit it out. Okay, so this watch. This is the coolest watch I think I own, one of the coolest, or at least
Okay.
most unique watches. This is a Casio F91 module on the inside.
Okay.
So the guts of the Casio. The outside is just basically a resin case, but you'll notice there are no buttons.
Yep.
There is essentially no way to interact with the watch.
Mm-hmm.
This is also oil filled, so inside of this watch is oil. So you can technically go to any depth with this watch and not have water penetrate it because you're not dealing with pressure differences.
That's wild.
I don't know if that works because this is hand built. Charlie Whiskey and Tango rather. All their stuff is hand built. They have really cool projects. But when I got mine, it wasn't cured yet, so the watch was sticky. And then a friend of mine got the watch, and there was like a big fingerprint on top of it because it's handmade. And like whatever, they're trying to refine the process and everything like that. But it's always sold out. I got it. I was signed up for email alerts. If you sign up for email alerts, like you will get it, but it does sell out frequently. But what are your thoughts on a watch where it's $200? It's not a cheap watch. I don't regret the purchase. I think it's cool, but I am like, wow, that is a $200 watch that I can't change the time. I can't change the battery. I can't use the backlight feature, anything. Like right now, daylight savings just happened. The time's wrong until daylight savings changes again.
Oh, I don't love that about the watch.
Yeah,
that
that's
would
what
bother me.
everybody says.
That would bother me. And the fact that you can't change the battery, like, because I'm going to spend.
It's going to die.
Well, and I mean, granted, like I've had my Timex for like 5 years. I haven't had to change the battery.
Sure.
But like, that's the fun of, in my mind, it's like a watch like that. It's like, no, you're going to have that, it'll break at some point, but like from wear and tear. But I don't know, like you're supposed to have it, maybe your whole life. You give it to your kids or you give it to a younger cousin.
Even a Timex.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, you're going to destroy it or you might lose it, whatever the case is.
I have my grandfather's mechanical Timex.
That's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like how many generations that's passed down. Whereas like with that, it's like, it's a one and done. Very unique and kind of reminds me of like is it Tamagotchi? Like do you remember those little 90s toys?
It's also tiny. It's 32 millimeters.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's actually a really cool watch. I've never seen. It's definitely unique. Yeah. I've never seen something like that.
It is for people that live in Brooklyn that go to coffee shops and just like
you
sit
mean
there.
Hipsters?
Yes. I also live in Brooklyn and go to coffee shops. But it's like, those are the people that wear it. Like, you're like, oh, that's fascinating. And it's something like that. But
the handmade resin idea is really cool, too.
I think that's cool. The band is cool. It's not the most, like, you can't really modify the fit too much on the band. You actually have to say your wrist sized here.
Gotcha.
But that's like the artsy-fartsy aspect of this brand where it's like, no, you can only do it once. So that's kind of cool. They also have the time since launch, which is
a clock attached to a backpack?
Well, what's interesting is, let me make sure I have the description right. So, say I get you this watch, or the birth of your child, or something like that. You start the time. You start the launch.
So it counts up.
It starts counting, yeah. Like, 25 years, 20, whatever years. This is supposed to last basically forever. I forget what the original charge is. Let me check. Time since launch is a single-use, long-scale launch clock. Pull the pin and begin counting for 1 million days, or over 2,738 years. Use this very long-scale timepiece to mark the beginning of your life, essentially. It could begin when you get married, have a birthday, whatever it may be. And you can change the battery And they have a backup battery, so when you are changing the battery, it doesn't die.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is a cool little company.
This is a very cool company. Their design is cool. Their pens are cool.
Very futuristic.
Well, I'll talk to you about it off camera because I don't know how many people here want to hear about pens. But that's a pen. Pen Type C. Yeah, and you can use it as a bookmark.
Oh, that's really cool.
Very cool people.
Very futuristic. I'm a fan.
Yeah. Okay, I want. Let me pull it up for you. Coca-Cola. Did you watch Succession? Right.
I did not. I'm gonna get nailed for that in the comments.
Really?
I have not yet. It's on my list. I'm trying to finish Billions before I move on to Succession.
Is that a good show?
I like Billions.
I haven't seen it.
It's all about banking and Manhattan, similar to Succession in a way.
Okay, yeah.
But not focused on media.
And in Succession, Logan goes Coca-Cola.
Gotcha.
So that's why. Okay, so this is a watch I've seen, but you brought it back up. What do you think about it?
I'm a fan of it. I think it's fun. To me, with some of these, G-Shocks, the Casios, any of these cheaper watches, I like the idea of color and something that you're not typically going to wear. I don't know, it reminds me of having a slice of pizza and a Coca-Cola at the neighborhood pizza spot.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
That's what I remember.
Way to look at
how I look at these watches. It reminds me of being a kid. I know Christian and I said that a couple of videos ago. You should have fun with these watches. You should enjoy it, and you should find time to wear it.
You know what's funny is that this. I really want this Coca-Cola watch. I didn't buy it or anything yet. The tough part for me is I always want, with a Casio, with a G-Shock, I want tough solar. Okay. I want it to be able to charge.
Of course.
I think that's very cool. Not that it's totally necessary to use the watch, but I'm always like, oh, I wish you had that.
You're a functionality guy.
Yes.
I know.
You're like, yes. But when you saying that, I was like, wow. I just thought about the fact that I would go to Papa Gino's with my parents and sit at the table and eat pizza.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
I want to wear my Coca-Cola watch.
Yeah.
Wow. That's what this reminds me of.
Okay.
And I think Casio and G-Shock does a great job of some of these different, I'll call it a collab where they're stamping, other brands on their watches and it's fun. As it should be.
I saw a comment. I follow the G-Shock subreddit on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw one of the comments that were the fun of G-Shock is the relative ease compared to other big expensive watches of collecting.
Yeah.
And G-Shock is constantly releasing limited editions, special editions, all of these crazy things. So that's cool. But wow, I like that you assigned that memory. That's sick. Yep. I really want to get one now. But the question is, do you like the DW5600 CC23-4 or the G-Shock X Coca-Cola DW6900 CC23-3 green?
I think I like the red one.
Okay. I would have to agree for two reasons. I like that it's red. The other one, I really want a 6900 in general, but it's much bigger.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize the size was different.
Yeah, it's a big size.
I just prefer the red. It stands out more. Again, I don't know. For me, it's not as subtle with a watch like that. I want it to stand out. I want you to see it. The other thing that I like about these watches too, the G-Shocks in general, is if I'm going on a run or if I'm at the gym, I hate taking my phone out to look at it because then I'll start texting or I'll look at emails.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of wearing a watch to a gym, and that's the only reason that I really want to buy a G-Shock, or one of the main reasons that I really want to buy a G-Shock is, you could sweat in that thing and everything else, and it's still going to work. You're not worried about ruining it.
I'm not wearing it today, but I love the DW5600 series in general, whatever version of that it may be, like the Coca-Cola watch. But they have some crazy titanium models like this.
That's right up your alley.
That's crazy.
That is right up your alley. That's cool.
But the tough part is that's an $1,800 watch. That to me, it's okay,
Gotcha.
well, that's really cool, but that's something I could never actually buy because I'd buy it and be like,
why didn't I get something else?
Why didn't I just put this in a bank? But it's so cool. There's one specifically, they discontinued it. See, that's also the problem. But yeah, really expensive G-Shocks I think are really cool, and Casio puts the work into them. They're worth it from a polishing level, from a finishing level, from a functionality level. But they just cost so much money.
Yeah, it's a lot to spend at that point. I'd rather, again, go micro brands or, look for something else that's a little bit more dressy or something that I would wear on a more everyday basis.
Would you go mechanical at that point?
I would try to.
At what price is it I'm going to go mechanical?
I don't know. That's tough because there's some great tanks that are all quartz that are.
Oh no, I consider quartz mechanical.
Oh,
I'm saying I should say.
Oh, digital?
Not digital display. Yeah.
Oh, $250.
$250.
That'd probably be like I'd have to really like the color scheme.
You're right. You're $50 lower than I would go.
Oh, so you do 300. All right, so we're both in the same ballpark.
I still might, like, if there's a watch that convinces us, I feel like we'd both do it. But there's the Japanese version of the DW5600. I think it's a 5600U. Probably wrong. But it's just the resin is better. It's a screw down case back. It's like minor things. But if you want to go to the top of like a functional G-Shock where you're not spending an absolute ton of money, that's to me what it is.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The Swatch What If. Do you know why this is called the What If?
No.
This was essentially Swatch being like, well, what if our first watch was not the circular Swatch watch that you think of when you think of Swatch today?
Okay.
So this is that watch. It is essentially just a Swatch in the size of or in the shape of a square. See?
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not a big square fan. I prefer rectangular watches.
You love circles.
I like circles. Yeah. I like shapes. No, I'm prefer. I don't know. To me, the square watches, the way that they sit on my wrist, sometimes I don't love it. But
yeah,
like I need more. I prefer more of a rectangle. But this is just fun. It's different. And it's a Swatch. Like it's colorful. I don't know. I like the idea that it's called a What If.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Too.
Like,
that's why Swatch is so cool. Now, here's a question for you. These watches are obviously bioceramic and everything like that. They're essentially plastic and I think synthetic rubber. I don't think it's natural rubber. What would you one buy this watch if it was in steel? This is the mild choice.
Okay.
If it's in steel we'll keep it in the Swatch world for $100.
Okay.
Would you buy it in steel over this bioceramic? Which
I
is
prefer the bioceramic.
Still, okay.
I like for me, like the Swatch should be a plastic or something, not steel. I don't know. It just makes more sense to me.
And now, my biggest mistake when Swatch and Omega released the Moon Swatch is I thought it was going the other way. So it was an Omega Speedmaster that went down in price.
Yes.
I thought it was the Swatch philosophy going up in price.
Gotcha.
So I thought the Speedmaster was going to be ceramic red. And I thought that would be amazing. I was going to get that no matter what. If Swatch, or another brand, we could change the label out. If they made this watch and this was ceramic and not plastic, essentially, it was a hefty watch, the band was nice, would you buy that watch?
I'd consider it.
So would I.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. It's again, that's what I love about watches. It's like there's so many different variations and different choices. Yeah, like the Nomos Tetra, I've tried this watch on. I love this watch.
This is a watch I hope one day Nomos does in ceramic. They do virtually all of their manufacturing in-house, so I think it would be a lot harder for them. There's a whole thing where if you don't do enough manufacturing in-house, you can't stamp made in glass Huta on your watch.
Gotcha.
So they would have to build the facility to then make a ceramic case, which is obviously way harder. But they're dials they import, so I don't know. But either way, that in ceramic, I think would be one of the coolest.
That'd be cool. But I think that the Swatch is a nice comparison to it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You get that bioceramic at that price point, and then if you want something in steel,
yeah,
you get the Tetra.
Yeah.
I still got to buy a club at some point.
The club's amazing.
I love those
You
watches.
should get the Club Sport in 38.
Oh, that's what I want. With a pink
with the metal band, metal bracelet. No, you're thinking regular club.
Yeah, I'm thinking regular club.
Yeah.
I want that in like a pink or like a mint green.
Those are unbelievable watches. The Sport I wore when Chris and I were filming in Germany. It's like, it's hard to say something beat the Explorer because the Explorer is a very tough watch to beat. But from a stylistic point, I was like, this watch is just absolutely
interesting.
Beautiful. And Nomos was like, yeah, we're creating a competitor to that type of watch. And I was like, wow, it is so cool.
You mean you guys know what you're doing?
Yeah.
You've only been doing it for how many years?
Michael, that wasn't very nice of you to say. I'm like, oh, sorry.
One of the things about Swatch, I feel like the back office when trying to think of new models has to be the funnest work environment ever.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I just picture it to be like I don't know.
They're like, do you want to just make one that's like in the shape of a triangle? And someone's like, that's sick.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they make it.
I just picture there's like soda and pizza and cake. Like I don't.
You think about it like a Papagino's dinner.
Exactly.
Like it's like a birthday of Papagino.
Yeah. Next up, we're looking at the VAER A12 Dirty Dozen. For those who don't know, this is an homage to the original Dirty Dozen watches, which, if I understand correctly, were commissioned by the British Ministry of Defense.
Yes.
During World War II.
Yes.
Awesome.
Some of the coolest watches I've ever seen. This is a very classic, simple style. Obviously.
Yes.
This is the most like, if you said to me, make me a watch that I can see in most situations, I probably would not design something as cool.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, okay, probably a black background, white text that glows, and that's it.
Yeah.
Make it readable. Some of my favorite watches of all time. I've wanted a Dirty Dozen watch for a very long time to wear, but I'm always nervous that if I get one of these, because they are expensive watches, that I'll break it. And it's like breaking a World War II British
relic
military watch. It's like, oh my gosh.
It looks cool. I want to go hiking in this watch.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever hiked before.
That's a good time to start.
But I would have to if I bought this watch.
Yeah.
But
you
no.
go to World War. Well, I guess it would be
Just
free at this point. You'd have to go to war.
Great.
You in the middle of the trenches, you're like, believe it or not, this is actually an homage.
This is an homage to the Dirty Dozen, and everyone's looking at me like, "What are you doing?
What are you talking about?
What are you doing?"
It's not that accurate.
It's not that accurate. No, I actually really enjoy this watch. Again, I like, as much as I love color in watches. I don't know about you, but I love a watch that I'm going to say is under the radar a little bit, like field watches. You know, it's very straightforward in its design and its purpose, and I think it's just cool. Something that you again could go hiking or go camping in, wear this watch, and you're gonna beat it up, but it's gonna work.
Yeah.
You could trust that watch.
I like color in watches. I don't have any watches with color. And I'm saying this. This is literally gray and black.
Yeah.
But and then I point to the Dirty Dozen one. I'm like, but I do like more adventurous watches like that. I need to get watches with more color because it is fun to wear and it shows intentionality. Like a Coca-Cola G-Shock, people are like, oh, he wanted to wear a red watch.
Of course, that's why I like it.
My black G-Shock, people are like, oh, he's wearing a watch to tell the time.
Yeah.
So cool. Either way, that's VAER. What do we have left? That's a fantastic question. We have a watch that you showed me, which old Tag Heuers are like with the weird bracelet and everything. Those are weird. Those are icons of their time. You showed me Oakley.
Yes.
An Oakley watch, which to me is like the definition of a brand being like, oh, that's cool. Watch this. And then they just like go way too far. But that being said, where did you see these?
I saw these on Instagram, just kind of scrolling. And I just thought, how futuristic does this look? And
futuristic but retro.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I think these were all late 90s. I believe they started making watches in 98, Oakley, and stopped in 2015 or something.
Okay.
But I don't know if you've ever seen, like, in the old Olympics, like in the 90s, they would have those glasses that don't have any sides. They go over your head. Like there was like a track star there was a track runner that was wearing it.
No.
You got Oakley glasses that go over your head.
I like the way you compare brands and things to what they remind you of, because it makes me be like, oh, you're right. That is Men in Black. And I did play with Men in Black.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
The way that I look at it too, and I would hope that people can relate to this, is I like to try to keep things as simple as possible. Yeah. So when I'm thinking of a watch, and the first thing is, oh, it reminds me of X. So it's like, I don't know, I feel like people can relate to that.
Yeah.
But like to me, that like this Oakley watch, I don't know if I would ever wear it, but like you throw that thing on and I guarantee I'm 5 miles per hour faster.
I was going to say, if I was a kid and I like had a tough day and you came over and you plunked these glasses on my head and were like, you'll be able to run.
Like you could run through water, run on it.
I'd be like, I believe you. And then I'd run away. And you gave me this watch, it'd be a whole different story. Okay, finally, this watch. Casio officially announces the 40th anniversary Dream Project number 2 G-Shock G-D001 18 karat gold watch designed with AI assistance.
Interesting.
That is the weirdest thing that I've ever seen. First off, do you think this watch looks nice at all?
It's not for me.
It's not for me either. It looks like the brain of AI.
It does.
When I text chat GPT, this is what I think is staring back at me.
Yeah, actually.
This is weird. It is not going to go into production, at least I don't think it is. This is a one-off or two-off, it may be. It's getting donated to charity.
Nice.
This is celebrating G-Shock's 40th anniversary, of course. And this was made with the young designers at Casio and supervised by the veteran designers at Casio.
Interesting.
But this is still a G-Shock. 200 meters, water resistant, shock resistant, multi-band, solar.
18 karat gold.
18 karat gold. $150,000 is this. $150,000 is the expected strike price.
Gotcha. I mean, yeah, I would not. That is just. Oh wow! I just saw the dial.
No, but give me your serious thoughts.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like there was 30 people that. I don't know if it was 30. I don't know what the design team was, but it looks like it was like, well, here's all our thoughts. Let's throw that into AI. What is AI going to make us? It's this.
Yes.
Like I get the AI assistants now.
Yeah, I get it too. You know what's interesting is like obviously I don't think this adds any extra durability or anything like that to the watch. But eventually, you could probably say to AI, like, no, make it more durable, and they'll start to come up with weird grid patterns and stuff like that to
Probably right,
shock.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It again, like I never thought that a watch would be designed with the help of AI. I mean, it makes sense, but
future watches may only be designed
no, you're 100% right. I think AI is taking over the world, but it just looks like, again, if I put in the ChatGPT the thoughts of 40 different people
Yes.
on what they want a G-Shock to look like, and someone likes gold, and someone likes shock resistant, and someone likes, I don't even know.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it would come up with. It looks like a hodgepodge.
Yes, exactly.
It kind of in a good way, but
It's definitely different. You and I being really nice judges on like the watch.
Yeah,
show. Like,
exactly.
it's definitely different.
It's not for me. There's just too much going on for my liking. But yeah, when I see that, I definitely think that, you know, it's a lot.
It's a watch. That's
It's a watch.
It reminds me, or it makes me think about like Casio as a brand. Christian and I are always like, well, I wish, you know, Rolex did something more daring, but they never will. I wish Omega did something more daring, and they probably won't. Like all this stuff. It's like, well, G-Shock and Casio will, because why not? Like
G-Shock and Casio said, hold my beer.
They'll release a $5,000 hand-polished titanium G-Shock. Just why not? Do you watch creep? Like if you're at the grocery store and you see some guy with a watch, are you like, what is that?
Oh, a funny story about that actually is I did that when Christian and I were in Italy with two of our other buddies.
Yeah.
We were at a restaurant in Florence.
Okay.
So waiter comes over, gives us, you know, wine and menus or whatever.
As they should.
And I see his watch and I go, is that guy wearing a Hulk? What is going on right now? The guy's a waiter in Florence. Like, is he the owner? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. So I'm just like, if this guy's wearing a Hulk, I'm quitting my job right now and I'm moving to Florence.
Become a waiter
and I'm going to become a waiter in Florence to be able to afford a Hulk, because this guy got to be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was just a knockoff, you know, like brand. So I do look at watches. I try to be as good as I can about it. And then when I see something that I like, I'll just go up to someone and be like, great watch.
I've done it a few times too. Like, it's a nice watch. And they always are like, what? You're like, no.
Yeah. Some people are like,
I touch the wrist. I'm like, wow. Is that polished?
But yeah, no, I always look at people's wrists just to see what they're wearing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like I feel like you could learn a lot about someone from the watches they're wearing.
100%. What would you... Wait, let me see your watch. If I could actually tell it was a Baltic, I'd be like, that guy's a watch nerd. That guy goes on Reddit.
I feel like if you're wearing like a micro brand and I see that, it's like you know what you're doing. If you're wearing a Casio or a Timex, either you just really enjoy those types of watches and that's why you're wearing it, or like you went in with the intention of, I wanted a nice little cheap watch that I could wear around. When I see, you know, I don't know, a Rolex, you got a Rolex. You have a beautiful luxury watch.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Is that how we're ending this?
That's how we're ending this.
See you guys next time.
Peace.
Watches are unimportant to the time. They can't speed, slow, or stop it, and our phones tell it better. But, as vessels for memories, they know few rivals.